Hey everybody, you guys leave a lot of great questions and comments, and today we're exploring one about quinoa. It's a BFD Talk Back. Joining me is environmental producer Sal Cardoni and food expert Willy Blackmore. Guys, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
So first off, let's just get to our user comment and question. This is from a Dean Coyne, who says, any environmentalist ought to be horrified by biofuels. With all the problems we're having now with monocultures, growing our fuel is one path to deforestation, not to mention higher food prices. Just look at what's going on with quinoa in Bolivia and Peru. Okay, first off, what's a monoculture? And second off, how does it relate to quinoa?
A monoculture is essentially when you have a large amount of farmland where you're growing a single crop.
Okay.
A good example of a monoculture is like in the Midwest, in Iowa, pretty much everything's planted in corn. Mm-hmm. And it creates problems in terms of like depleting the soil, because if you're not rotating crops, you're not kind of like feeding back necessary nutrients into the soil that the plants strip away. And it's just nature abhors anything that tries to be one thing.
Specialized.
Yeah, and it will mess things up.
So Sal, are you seeing any pros whatsoever about quinoa environmentally?
From an environmental standpoint, not really. I mean, what you want to have for the land is a diversified crop so that there's soil regeneration and nutrient turnover. And that doesn't really happen in monoculture because it's one thing all the time. So from an environmental perspective, there really aren't many pros for quinoa.
How is it affecting the farmers there in Peru and Bolivia?
Well, basically, you have a crop that's been grown in the area, like in the Andes, up in the mountains, for thousands and thousands of years. And for, most of that period of time, it was grown for domestic consumption. You get into the situation where there's increasing demand in America and in other, in Europe as well, for this food because it has all these proteins and great balance of amino acids, and it's a really wonderful thing to eat. But then you're shifting from a subsistence farming system where, Bolivians are growing quinoa for their own consumption to growing the plant for a globalized market. Mm-hmm. And that creates issues with land speculation, it creates price increases, and it's become unaffordable.
What's the sort of end game here? How do you encourage people to eat nutritionally but not eat something like quinoa because of the sort of societal and international implications of it? I mean, how do we fix this problem?
I don't think you tell Americans not to eat something healthy.
Okay.
I think we're going to continue to do it as long as the price is fine.
Well, one way to deal with the issue is to grow it domestically, and that's something that they are doing, because then you're not getting into these land speculation issues. And I imagine, I'm not quite clear on the economics, but I imagine that if we had a domestic supply, it would bring down the prices.
And if they do, it'll be good for the environment, because when you can grow something locally, right, or at least in the continental U.S., you don't have to ship it. That's carbon intensive, and it's bad for the environment.
All right, you guys, thanks a lot for your time. Really appreciate it. Dean, hopefully we addressed your question. Keep telling us what you think, guys, and make sure to subscribe. For BFD, I'm David Park.